Hello and welcome back to another episode of my Drunk Pub Rants, where, as always, we'll be discussing another interesting episode in history or pop culture. And today's topic is the craziest battle of World War II. Now, when people imagine the end of the Second World War in Europe, we seem to just jump to Hitler's suicide and that being the end. But that isn't the case. Hitler committed suicide on the 30th of April, 1945, but Germany did not surrender until the 7th of May. There is an entire week between Hitler doing the world a favour by killing Hitler and Karl Donitz becoming Reichsführer and then surrendering on behalf of the German Reich. And it's within this time frame we get one of the strangest battles of World War II. The Battle of Castle Itter. Or actually, more accurately, the Battle of Schloss Itter, because it's an Austrian castle. Schloss Itter was a part of the Dachau concentration camp complex. But instead of hosting Nazi Germany's undesirables, it instead played host to VIP prisoners. This was anything from communist partisans that they'd found in Yugoslavia, to high-ranking athletes, to former French presidents. Anyone that the Nazis could use to gain leverage in any sort of negotiations with the Allies. And so, when news of Hitler's suicide began to spread, the guards just left, and the prisoners retook the castle and armed themselves, ready to fight if they had to, knowing that, well, they were quite valuable hostages if the SS ever decided to come knocking. And so, they sent a Yugoslav partisan out to go and find the Americans, which he did, encountering the 12th Armoured Battalion of the US Army, as they were making their way up through Austria. However, they were a little, well, it wasn't actually the 12th Armoured Battalion, it was a different one. They were actually a little busy. So he kept searching. And he found an SS officer. However, this was SS officer Joseph Gungel, who had become disillusioned with the Nazi Party within the last few months, and had decided to start working for the Austrian resistance with his Wehrmacht platoon. And so, he decided to take up the message, got in his car, and found a different battalion, this one actually being the US 12th Armoured Battalion, and probably said something along the lines of, "I hate Nazis, you guys hate Nazis, let's kill Nazis together." To which the Americans said, "Sure, sounds like fun." Which began what has to be one of the strangest team-ups, the American Army and a Nazi Wehrmacht teaming up to defend an Austrian castle filled with French prisoners of war against the SS. And at first the battle went alright for the defenders. I mean, they did immediately lose their Sherman tank to a Panzerfaust from the SS. And then the battle started to turn against them. Gengel would be killed as he jumped in the line of fire from an SS sniper to defend former French President Paul Reynaud. He was the only death on the Allied side. As the battle continued to go, Jean Barotra, a Croatian tennis player, went out to find more help, during which he actually encountered the SS and pretended to be an Austrian peasant by taking a shit in the woods. Eventually he got past the SS without being noticed, and met up with the US 142nd Infantry, which eventually showed up to help the armored division, and officially ended the siege of Schloss Itter in a victory for the Wehrmacht and the US Army. Now, why is this important? Well, for one thing, it's the 80th anniversary today of the Battle of Schloss Itter. But for another, it really went to show how quickly the attitudes were changing at the end of the Second World War, as the German people became disillusioned with the Nazi rhetoric and the Nazi regime. To the point that, of course, afterwards, we've had a nearly 80-year-long relationship with our buddies the Jerrys. As Germany has now gotten over all of the strife and the spite, and have become a functional democracy. One that we're glad to have as an ally. Also some really, really good memes. So, thank you all for watching, and I will see you next month for topic as of yet unknown. I don't have one. I'll find something. See you all next month.